Right on. Okay, so couple things real quick. There is, if you are female, identify as female, there is a Women's of Place thing coming up. It was in the Place newsletter last week, but I think there's an Eventbrite coming out. Anyway, so I think it's gonna be really cool. I just want to put it on your peripheral. So like when you look at the toolkit or our new Our Place thing, that you look for that specifically. I don't have like the actual link. Then I don't know. I don't have it yet, but I will have it, and I'll send it to our people. But it'll be fun for the women that want to join in. It'll be great. And then, oh, thank you, Elizabeth. I see Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you're on it. Thank you. The last 10 Zooms, the last 100,000 Zooms, I feel like, right? This morning, as we're getting ready, who are our shout outs? Who are the people we want to give gratitude to? What are some of our wins? Where do we want to start with that? Brandon, I am going to you.
What's up? Good morning. Wanted to give a shout out to Kaylee, whose face I saw, and I saw Emerson too. She's on today. For a listing that's going live, I believe today, maybe pending weather. Kaylee could let us know, but took a listing from Sphere Referral, 755K on the northwest side of San Antonio, breaking her own record for her own listings. But it's the shout outs for how it all went down. So she got a call, they got connected, and inadvertently, you know how technology is sometimes, power went out or her computer turned off or something, and it inadvertently sent a CMA that wasn't done yet to the client before the meeting. And so, you know, sometimes as soon as sellers see numbers or clients hear one thing, that's enough for them to kind of start, you know, maybe backtracking a little bit. And so I think that appointment got canceled. Kaylee went to Bill Howe, stayed in touch with the person, and then ended up resetting an appointment for when she got back. She goes to the appointment, knocks it out of the park, and it turns out she was competing against like 4 other realtors. That was never on the table. She didn't know that, but she went through the presentation with them, was prepped with all her stats and everything. She has another coming soon in that neighborhood, so she really knows what's going on there, and got them signed, and it should be going live tomorrow. It's an awesome house too, in case anybody has someone looking.
Nice. That's good follow-up, Kaylee. Good job. Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
And then I just wanted to shout out just some rotation on our team from the lead generation model in general. So on Monday, we started the week pretty hot. 1 buyer rep from door knocking, 1 from Sphere, a signed buyer from agent referral, another Sphere referral call in, 1 open house, and 1 more agent referral. And so we're like trying to spread the wealth around here. And it's one of the things we've obviously been talking about since the market shifted. So just wanted to shout out the people. They know who they are because they're in Slack and shout it out. But we're making the rounds on that lead gen pie, and it's really growing their business at a high level right now.
Who's the door knocking person? We don't hear that ever. Like Texas is so anti door knocking. So like, I just want to know who's doing it.
The one from this week was Alma. It was somebody that she door knocked when she first started door knocking last year, and they're coming around. I believe they're a buy sell. Tamala and Kyla also door knocking, and Kaylee open houses, I believe, but they could correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, what do I know? Apparently people do door knock in San Antonio, at least. We're working on all that ourselves. We have door hangers and everything. We just don't really use them that well yet, but we're getting there, guys. We're getting there, right? Can't be perfect. Okay, I love that. Great job, guys. This morning, as I was thinking about, yes, thank you, San Antonio and Houston. The rest of us will catch up, don't worry. As I was thinking about, gosh, you know, like we're already in the second quarter. Not only are we in the second quarter, we have like, you know, I don't know, a couple weeks, it feels like, to like even wrap up the second quarter. This year is like flying by. And so if you haven't taken a look at what you've achieved so far for Q1, right? This is a really good reminder to just take the weekend, maybe this weekend, and check out what you've done. And don't put so much pressure on yourself that, you know, like, you know, sometimes you start off January and you just weren't with it yet. You know, like the year hadn't started, but maybe your February and March were good, right? or maybe January strong, and then you got busy, and then February was a little slow, right? Just look at like, okay, where are my opportunities? Where are my wins? High five on the wins. Pick your 2, 3 opportunities and just run from there, right? You can't be perfect all the time, but like, don't give up on your goals. It is way too early to give up on your goals, right? So this morning, speaking of goals, we have Hilary, who to me is goals. I don't know if I'm going to go ahead and spotlight her for everyone. I don't know if you guys have met her yet. Unlike me, she's always like super prepared, looks really, really pretty. Her hair is perfect no matter what the weather is. So I'm always like, just number one, I'm like, I want to be like Hilary. You're Hilary and Jordan on this call. Even Sarissa, man, you guys have your life together. I'm very impressed.
I'm glad it looks like that.
It does, Hilary. It does. So Hilary and I became friends a few years ago because she's in the same city as I am. And we run into each other less in Austin and more at like place events, which is funny. Austin's a big city, but you know how it is. And so I was thinking about, okay, well, who are some women, like power women that I do want to like kind of like learn from or reach out to. Also power men, don't worry. Your turn is coming. Don't worry. I see all of you guys, Sharky, Joseph, DJ, you guys are all out there. Like, we're going to get to you too. But this morning, I wanted for all of us to get to know Hilary. And the reason I was thinking about Hilary this week was, she's number one, she's female. So for all the female listeners, number two, you have doggies, you don't have kids, right? So a lot of times people equate female, got to have kids. And if you don't have kids, your life must just be easy, right? Right. But that's not reality, right? You moved cross country, so I want to get into that. You got into real estate just like the rest of us, right? And you're doing really good over here. You lead a team and you sell real estate. So I just tell us a little bit about you, and we'll go from there if that's okay.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for all those kind words. So that means a lot, and I'm super excited to know you and be able to share in this group. So I originally am from a very small town in Indiana. So I grew up went to school and graduated with like 80 people. And my dad's a farmer. My mom's a nurse. So I just really grew up watching everyone around me and the role models that I had work really, really hard. And not always love what they were doing. So that's something that was always kind of in the back of my mind, to be able to have some control over that, so that I wasn't working every single day and coming home and being just completely exhausted, right? So I didn't know what that was going to look like. That's for sure. And it changed drastically from graduating high school, going to college. I went to Indiana University, and my degree is actually in biochemistry.
I'm sure you use it every single day.
Every day. And I was also one of those people who was like, why would you go to school and not use your degree? That just doesn't make any sense at all, says the teenager who doesn't know any better. So I had planned on going to dental school and becoming a dentist. And I was waitlisted 2 years in a row and did not end up getting in. So at that point, I had to pivot. I also thought my life might be over at that point, since that didn't work out. So that was a fun journey. I don't know if anybody else is really hard on themselves like that, but I certainly am. And I got a job at a bank. So I had previously done retail management while I was working and going to school in college. And I was really tired of the retail hours. So that's why I went into banking and was a personal banker, did loans for cars, not really anything to do with mortgages, but more so personal loans on things like that. That was great for a while, but it was very boring. And there was a very low ceiling of what you could accomplish and do. And so actually I was at work one day and my manager was literally just tooling on Zillow and I love looking at houses. I think it'd be so cool to be a realtor. I wonder what it takes. And so we just kind of went down this rabbit hole of what does it take to become a realtor. And so that's really what started it. I knew a friend that I went to high school with who was a realtor. One of my good friends' moms was also a realtor. And so I just scheduled calls and conversations with them to see what they thought and if I thought it might be a good fit. And then I got my license.
So I guess like, what were you hoping? Were you hoping just to like basically replace your income or maybe make like six figures? Like, what were you thinking was going to happen? Do you have
I
any
had zero
expectations?
plan. I
Okay,
had
zero
zero
plans.
plan. I had zero expectation. I really didn't know what I was getting into, to be completely honest.
Okay, great. Like that sounds like a lot of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we say like we want to make six figures because it's like the natural thing to say because that's what everybody says around us, right?
I
Most of
was
the people
making
have
like
to say,
$40,000. So if I could have made $50,000, I would have been happy.
got it, got it. Okay, so how did your that first year or first few years? How did that real estate journey kind of go for you? Like, did it go?
Yeah. So I closed 13 sales my first year. And again, small town Indiana, my average price point was like $100,000. So I made like $20,000 or $30,000 a
Yeah,
month.
you were banking. Absolutely.
Yeah. Not even close.
How long ago?
Um,
How long ago was that?
that was in 2015. So
Okay,
8 years.
so not that long ago. Okay, awesome. Wow, welcome to Austin, Texas, where the price point is not 100.
I know. It was quite amazing. Quite amazing. So yeah. Um, I joined Keller Williams as a solo agent and primarily because the person who was my sponsor and brought me in, who I thought I was going to join her team, didn't end up hiring me. And so I didn't really have like a plan B.
Oh,
So that
why, do you know why she didn't hire you?
She was not taking on anybody new at the time. And this is actually a funny story. She was at Built How this when we were there. And she was like, I am seriously so impressed by you. She said, I remember the first time we met, my life was kind of crazy. You were kind of quiet. I wasn't quite sure that I was the right fit for you. And she's like, I just can't believe how well you've done.
Oh. Okay, so and I want to get back to that, but like first couple of years, how long were you in Indiana itself? Like
Yeah,
how
for
long?
5 years.
Okay, so you sold for 5 years. Like,
Yeah.
were you like sphere based? Were you open house based, or did you door knock? I mean, what kind of what did you do
Yeah.
in those first 5 years, and how did that kind of go?
Yeah. So I did end up joining a team about 6 months in,
Okay.
and that was really, really great. I was able to have a lot of opportunities for growth and, growing into a more leadership role and things of that nature. But primarily for business, it was open houses. Those were big for us. And then internet leads and sphere and past clients. So I definitely agree with the hockey stick model of like gradually and then suddenly. Because the first year it was like 13 transactions, the second year was 46 transactions, the third year was 73 transactions. So it was really about 18 months in that I started getting repeat and referral business, and then that became a really big portion of my business.
Okay, I'm going to read that off again. Open houses, sphere, internet leads, and past clients. Those are like kind of your lead gen levers to begin. And then you just work those lead gen levers. And then obviously, 13, 46, 73. It takes time to build something, but when you stick with something, it does build. I mean, that's just what happens.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. All at 100,000?
So I went up a little bit. So 115,000 my first year, 135,000 my second year, 154,000 my third year. By year 5, I was at 185,000 before I came to Austin.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, and when people look at your disc assessment, are you like a natural salesperson, or like kind of walk us through like who you are personality wise?
Not at all. So going back to my background, I was a biochemistry major. So if anybody is familiar with an engineer or someone along those lines, I still lead with my C. So when I first took the disc assessment, probably 4 or 5 years ago, C and I were my top two.
Okay.
My very lowest was a D.
Okay.
And I have noticed that adaptively that can be higher. And as the years have gone on and I have gained more experience and more confidence, and you're put in these positions that you have to pull that out, even if it's not natural, there has been a little adjustment, but it's still not my number one driver in terms of personality traits. It's still C, I, D, and then S.
Wow. Okay. So definitely not like, because when we think about salespeople, like just in general, you go to any conference, your salespeople
Yep.
on stage usually are DIs, IDs, woo, lots of energy, lots of just I'm not going to use all the words. You guys already know them. But the high D's and the high I's in the room, right? Like they're a little bit louder, they're a little bit more braggalocious and all of those things. And so you come in, so as a high C, how are you, like, how did you succeed? Like what superpowers are you tapping into, honestly? Like,
I love rules.
You
Rules
like-
are like my favorite thing in the world. I'm a big black and white. If there is a black and a white, I'm the happiest person in the world. The gray is not my thing. I've learned to adjust to that, but I really like to know exactly what I'm supposed to do. So I did that. Whatever my mentor told me to do, I just did it. I didn't ask questions. I'm not a why person. Like, you just tell me to do something, I'm like, okay, fine, I'll go do it. And so that's what I did. Every time she said, hey, this is what we're going to implement, this is what I need you to do, or just really saying yes to every single opportunity, particularly when I was starting out. Like, there was no price that was too small. There was no task that was too little. I mean, when I first started, she's like, here's my database. It's kind of a mess. I don't know if any of these numbers are even right, but will you just call through it and see what you can get out of it? And I was like, sure, that sounds great. Let me do that.
Here's a pond of leads, like, do what you can. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, she's like, I have really no idea if any numbers are right. I don't know where some of these leads came from, but just call them.
Got it. So
That's how I started.
rules and people. You like rules and you like people. CI.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. All right.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's really fun. So when you were selling, like, like your second and third year, you started getting like more sales, right? What was it, like 46, 73, give or take?
Yeah.
Were you doing those on your own? How did you manage your time as a newer agent, first of all, right? Well, we can talk about it now, but let's talk about it like kind of like a few years ago. And it wasn't like 20 years ago. So I really appreciate the fact that it was like 2016, 2017. That's not a long time ago.
Right. Honestly, sometimes when I look back, I literally don't know how I did it. I wouldn't say that I am the poster child for doing it right either.
Okay.
And that's what I value so much about Place and the people that we have in our worlds, like Brendan, and who really can help us focus on being a high performer while still being a good human to those around us. So just being a little bit vulnerable, like I did almost lose my marriage over it. Like I really did go into a situation where I was working all the time and that was all that I cared about, truly. I was having success there. That was fueling me. That felt really good because that was something that even as I was younger, success was really important to me. It's where I got a lot of my value and my self-worth. And so that was just like a rocket ship, right? And in the meantime, I was ignoring my husband. I was not there. I wasn't present. I didn't have kids. So I didn't feel like I had really any, I don't want to say that I didn't have any need there, but he could survive on his own, right?
Yeah. He didn't need to be babysat, right?
Right.
Like, your opinion at that point.
Correct.
Got it.
So I would say I didn't do that right. And this is also another reason why it's so valuable to be in a world where leverage is so important and we talk about it early on. Because I was still running my signs, I was still running my lock boxes, I was still running flyers out to properties, putting riders on them as soon as they would sell or go under contract, putting coming soons out. Like I had zero leverage, even though I was on a team.
So you were like selling 46, 73 homes and doing everything.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I can see how the world can fall apart with that.
Mm-hmm. It almost did. So thankfully, somehow, and I can't even pinpoint what the pivotal moment was for me, but I finally pulled it together and realized that wasn't everything that mattered in the world. And while it is still important, my life was also really important. So that's what I learned, I guess, through that process.
Like advice for somebody who's newer in the business. And when I say newer, if I started in a new career, I talk about this with my team all the time. If I started a new career right now, I would consider myself a baby probably for the first like 2 to 3 years, because it's a new industry. Like you can be a baby in another industry and be like a pro in another one, right? Like, so
Absolutely.
your first like 1, 2, 3 years, like what kind of advice would you give agents?
So say yes to every opportunity. If somebody is in an office and you can sit in there and you can just listen to the conversations that they are having, that is so vital. So that's what I did when I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing. I just went into the office and I sat there and I listened to other agents' phone calls. If they were going on an appointment, I asked if I could go with them. I tried to shadow them at every opportunity that I could, and attend classes, like really just plugging in and gaining as much knowledge as possible, and then being able to practice that, put that into action, and then it all just really built from there. Knowing that every single day I would have to practice to get to the level of kind of expertise that I felt like I needed, so that people did trust me even if I was newer.
Okay, so instead of like waiting for something to happen or waiting for someone to ask you, like, hey, do you want to shadow me on this appointment? You're like, I got to plug in, like my future's in my hands and I'm in charge of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that works. At some point, you ended up in Austin. What happened?
Yes. So I was a network agent with experience,
Mhm.
and this was in 2019. And I was going to grow a team in Indiana. So that was my plan. And I met Jeanette, and there was a need for a director of sales for her team here in Austin. And it was the middle of the winter. I was actually, I think, January, and Holly Priestner texted me and said, hey, I heard you'd love to move somewhere sunny. Give me a call. And so I did. And she explained to me the opportunity and asked if I was interested. So I definitely wanted to say yes right away. And I had learned I should probably ask my husband if that would be okay if we moved across the country first before I said yes. So I did. And he said, yeah, absolutely. Interview for it and let's see what happens. So I met her in Dallas when we had family reunion there in the beginning of 2020.
Wow, so this is right as COVID was about to come down.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we interviewed there. We had some conversations, and then as soon as we got back from that, I did come to Austin to see this, meet the team in person and things like that. And then I accepted the position, and a week later, we went into like lockdown. So I had planned to move at the end of that month. I mean, it was going to happen really fast, but I ended up staying for about a couple months and doing that remotely before I moved here in May of 2020.
Okay, wow. So that was almost 3 years ago, right? You're
Mhm.
coming up on your third anniversary in Austin. Now you came here, and I know you came here as a director of sales to lead the team
Mhm.
with Jeanette, but you also sell real estate here, right?
Yes.
Okay, so like Indiana, Texas, or small town Indiana, Austin. Like, what does that look like? What does it look like in Austin, Texas? Like, what is, gosh,
It's wild. I'll tell you that.
yeah, where does your business come from, and how did that all transpire the last 3 years? Walk us through a little bit of that, because we have some people who have moved, and it is not easy always, and it takes time, and this is a very different market.
Definitely. So I used the same strategies that were successful for me when I was in Indiana. So open houses, internet leads, and agent referrals. To be honest, I had done a really good job of building relationships with other agents in our Keller Williams network. And so I did have a few of those that happened, relatively quickly after me moving here, which was great. So that definitely fueled it. And even some of my past clients in Indiana did know people who were moving here. So even though the sphere was not here, I was still able to plug into that. And I do think that is a limiting belief we have sometimes if our sphere isn't in the same city that we are doing real estate, but you'd be really surprised that
So
it actually can still work.
on that note, like, do you tell people you moved? Do you tell people that, like, hey, like, I'm in Austin. Do you know anybody in Austin? Like, what is that like? What does that sound like? Because it's a little weird sometimes, right?
It can be. It can be. So I was very hesitant at first because I was still finishing some business when I first moved here. So that was also a little line that I was trying to figure out of how do I transition my business to somebody else there, keep that going and move here. So it was a little bit of a transition. Um, but honestly, I had built such strong relationships with my clients and I was able to provide them the resources for who they'd be using if I wasn't there, that then I could ask them, I'm very excited about this new opportunity. If you do know anybody, the kind of service I provide, I would love to have you help me grow my business in Austin.
I like that. Have you help my grow my business in Austin? That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you said you keep using the word plug-in. I don't know if you realize, but like you've said it like 5 times now, which is really important because you said, okay, I built agent referral relationships. Is that because you just like never went to a conference, never like attended like any kind of training, or is that because like you put yourself out there? What, like, how did you build these relationships pretty early on? Because this isn't like, it's not like we're talking 10 years later you built these agent referral relationships.
I was really blessed to be in a great environment with the team that I was on in Indiana, and they actually are a place team now, which is super exciting. Um, she was very intentional about getting me in rooms of people that were going to help me grow. So when she was in like Diana Kokosko's mastermind, I went with her to those events. And so I was always really around the other what I would call operators or team owners or however you want to say that very frequently throughout the year because we were so intentional and I had that opportunity to get a lot of training and exposure to other people in other cities. So I can't take all the credit, but I definitely would say that it was the leadership that I was surrounded with that allowed me to be in those rooms and make those relationships.
That makes perfect sense. Now, I know you do your leadership thing and then you do sales. Like, how do you maintain all of this as you're just like us. You work hard, it sounds like, and you have goals for yourself, and then the real life pops up. Like, how do you maintain schedules? How do you walk us through kind of like what real life looks like for you?
Mhm. It seems so easy and people probably get sick of hearing it, but it is all about time blocking.
Okay.
You absolutely can get everything you need to get done if you are intentional. Now,
Okay.
am I 100% perfect every day? Absolutely not.
Probably because you're a C, but
No, I
no, I'm,
still,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You're even high C's are not perfect, you guys.
yes.
So like when you say time blocking, like, do you mean like it's on your calendar? Like what does all that mean to you? And how do you like, what is like is there a typical week for you?
Absolutely. So I do have to batch my days because mentally and emotionally, I have a very hard time switching from like coaching hat to sales hat to, recruiting hat. So all those things, I do have to be a little bit more specific in terms of, okay, these few hours, this is my focus, or this day is my focus. So we have team meetings on Mondays that I plug into. It's usually, any urgent fires that need to be handled, really just kind of setting myself up for the week. We have a couple of other leadership calls that I'm on Friday or on Mondays. So Mondays really kind of recentering myself, getting things ready, kind of an admin day for me. And then on Tuesdays, I do my coaching and then we'll focus on generating business for production. Wednesdays and Thursdays, it's split between recruiting and production. And then on Fridays, it's basically wherever I'm down. So if I haven't hit my recruiting numbers, then that's what I'm focusing on. If I haven't hit my production numbers, that's what I'm focusing on. So I leave that buffer knowing it's really just going to try to pick up the pieces on that day of what needs to happen.
Okay, I love that because what I'm hearing is you know yourself. People often say, well, what's a perfect, like what should it look like, right? And should is, is a big word because we're all very different. your superpower is I know who I am, and I'm not going to be able to switch from task to task to task all day and like also be alive when I get home to my husband. So you batch, and
Yeah.
then you leave enough room that by Friday you have room to go back to whatever you're not hitting your goals on, and catch those up.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
I love that.
Because what you didn't, what is not in there, because you don't ever really know what's going to happen, is transactions.
Yeah.
Right. So even with a transaction coordinator, even with, support from that perspective, there are still things that come up that I have to figure out where to put those. And so it changes week to week, right? Because we don't know what we're going to come across on a daily basis sometimes for that. But that's why a little bit of white space is helpful. I just know myself and I can't have too much, or else I just get very distracted. Again,
So
the rules. I like the rules. I like to know what I'm supposed to be doing.
you're super busy, and so, which is awesome. Yet I still see you. I follow you on Instagram. If any of you want to follow Hilary, like she's great on Instagram. You do a lot of open houses as well. Like, so like it's not like you're like, oh, I graduated, guys, I'm a leader, hello. Like, okay, why do you do open houses first of all, and like how do you like work that into your schedule, because you just work the full week?
Yeah, I mean, no days off, really.
Jobs, I mean, like two separate jobs. Okay, so like walk
Yeah.
us through why, and kind of like how often, maybe, I don't know.
Yes.
And why? Like,
So
why? We all want to know why.
the why behind the open houses is that is one way that I have control over the price point that I work, right? So there is a likelihood that if you even are at, let's say an $800,000 price point, that someone's going to come in and they're going to have a $300,000 budget. That's definitely plausible. However, what I found is when I am at those price points and my target price point and doing those open houses that way, I have a higher probability of interacting with somebody in that price point than being reactive to just the leads that maybe are coming in through Brivity or something like that.
Okay, that's a new perspective. I don't think that I have, like, I think we've thought of it, but not quite. Like, that is the main driver, is control your price point through open houses. Okay,
Absolutely.
fascinating.
Absolutely. So that's the why behind it. I also have looked at the business and understand that that is how I can build rapport pretty quickly with clientele. If they're out looking, they will put up a smoke screen, of course, and tell you they're not serious. And it's all in the follow up. Like the amount that I convert in follow up is probably 100%. I don't think I've ever walked into an open house and someone's like, actually, one time in the middle of a snowstorm in Indiana, the person walked in and bought that house. So it's really in the habits that you form around building that relationship, solidifying it at the open house, but then dropping items of value on them throughout the following weeks to then convert them.
So like, if you gave us an example, if you just did an open house today, for example, you solidified the relationship during the open house, what happens next? Like, do you forget about it until the next day, or kind of like what does it look like for Hilary?
Yes. So right away. So that same day, obviously based on the conversations that I had with them in person, is going to be when I'm doing all my follow-up. So I'm going to be calling them when I get home. I'm going to make sure that I have all their market reports set up, their listing alerts set up as needed. And then if there's anything I promised them, I make sure that I send it that day. Because by the time Monday rolls around, they're already back to work. They maybe have gone to 3 or 4 other open houses, and I've lost the mind share.
Okay, got it. So you're like all over it without being creepy.
Right.
Okay, nice. Awesome. I love that. Speaking of, like, the market has shifted.
Mhm.
Is there anything that you're doing differently? Are there any tactics that you're using now, as opposed to maybe you weren't doing previously or didn't need to do before? What does some of that look like?
It's truly going back to educating yourself
Okay.
and being as knowledgeable as possible. So we didn't really have to do that. Like there was one route, and it was go in and pay as much money as you possibly can, give the seller everything that they want, and you're going to get the house.
Yeah.
Great. Let's do that. Where do I sign? Great. People were all over that. People did that all day long. It's so crazy to think about. versus our conversations have to be much more tactical, and we have to be that fiduciary that is providing them confidence in whatever route they are thinking that they are going to go. And so it's required all of us, especially in our team, is just to be more educated, staying up to date more, on a daily basis with what's going on in the real estate market, what's going on with any rates, really just reading more and being more knowledgeable so that we can provide more confidence to our clients that it's still okay for them to transact real estate.
So it sounds like staying super plugged in right now is really important. It sounds like we've got to actually know our stuff this time around. And by knowing, and we don't have to actually be smart. We just have to plug into the smart people around us. But if you're smart, especially if you're a high C, those of you in the room, I know you guys are pretty smart out there. That's awesome. Help everybody around you. Okay, so you're doing a lot more educating. Is it taking longer?
Absolutely. The sales cycle is longer. And nobody wants to hear, you just have to do more. You just have to do more. You just have to do more. And we just have to do more right now. Anyone across the nation, if you were listening or watching any of these videos or these trainings that these other super powerful, super amazing agents across the country are doing, is they just have to spend more time on task, right? And the only way to alleviate that is to make our skill set better. So if we're doing those in tandem, we should be getting to the result that we want. But it is a necessary evil right now, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. I get it. As we're wrapping, it sounds like, okay, Hilary's got it all figured out. Woo! Awesome. Are there any challenges that you're facing, and how are you tackling them right now? Tell us if you're
I do not have it all figured out, I promise. I say, for me, even the biggest challenge right now is my mindset.
Okay.
Because it's so easy to get discouraged right now.
Okay.
It's so easy to feel like we're never going to get out of this, or it's always going to be this hard. It's a real thing. It's a real feeling. And so Growth Day, that app is awesome. Brendan's Daily Fires are amazing. They truly can help me reset my brain in the beginning of the day right away. So I have a loose routine, but I'm getting better at one now because I can see the difference it makes in my performance for the day when I do stick to it. Even if my first thought when I wake up is I can't do this today. It's nope, you can, you will. Somebody needs your A game today. Summon that person, create that energy, and just go do it. But I have to do it every day. I have to do it multiple times a day sometimes.
Okay. I feel better that you don't wake up and you're awesome, can't wait to go lead this team. This is going to be awesome. I can't wait to do this open house. This is my dream come true. You're not waking up feeling like that.
Definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely.
And that's normal.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is normal.
Interesting. Sometimes because you are such a positive person, I can hear you and I can think it must be normal. She's a CI, right? She probably goes to bed on time. She probably wakes up and she loves people. So she rules and people. So she probably does wake up awesome every day, but you don't. You wake up just like the rest of us.
Yes, I do. So that to me is the biggest hurdle. The work, after doing it for so long, some of it does become robotic, right? You know it so well, you've done it for so long, you know what you have to do. That part is more natural. It's the emotions that are a little bit harder for me, that I have to work harder to manage than the actual work itself.
Got it. Oh my gosh. So you're going to be at, speaking of Growth Day, there's something going on in Austin. Are you planning on going to that Brendan thing? So there's for everyone, God, what is it even called? Is it Growth Day?
Growth Day Live, I think is what it's called.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. So there is an event coming up in April. I want to say the third weekend in April.
20th through the 23rd.
yeah, if anybody wants to come down here, I'm sure there's plenty of people you can stay with. Yeah, so it's coming up, and I think and I saw that girl Jamie is going to be one of the speakers, which I was very excited about. I really loved her perspective on, you know, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your self-worth, which I thought, because self-worth and confidence are very different, right? And so I really loved that. It spoke to me. So maybe we get to see some of our friends, and hopefully we have better Austin weather for you, because this is like, it's so dark right now. It's like nighttime over here. So I love that, Hilary. Thanks for letting us get to know you this morning. And next week, guys, Brian Gubernick has asked what topic we want to talk about, because he is like, he said he's got his game face on, whatever that means. And so if you have any topics that you would like Brian to talk on, he is like so excited to come and speak to everybody in Texas. So if you've got anything, just email me, text me, or text anybody you know that knows me, whatever. Like, just let us know what you want to talk about, because Brian's like, apparently got his A game going. Like, you know, somebody needs his A game. Apparently it's us, and he's like all for it. So it'll be fun. Thank you, Hilary, and thank you, Texas, especially with all the weather delays and stuff. I know a lot of people's power is out, so it's a weird day today. But you know what? Today's just another day, and we'll get through today, and then we'll see everybody next week. Sound good?
It does. Thank you all.
Hilary, will you pop your contact information in chat real quick, just because some people will connect with people, and it's always nice to know that you have a partner out there that, you know, whether it's luxury, whether it's cross-country moves, whether it's just anything related that something spoke to you. Like, Hilary would love to stay in touch with you guys. Have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll see you next Thursday. Bye, guys.
Thank you.